Hello, welcome to QUT News.
Hello.
Accused Australian drug smuggler Cassie Sainsbury has finally been reunited with her family in Bogota. Her fiancé and her mother visited separately, fueling speculation of a feud. Other inmates have rejected claims Cassie has been bullied in jail.
Fiancé Scott Broadbridge arrived carrying a bag with fresh clothes, food and a single red rose for Cassie. He seemed happy to see his future wife.
How was Cassandra?
Yeah, he's fine. In this moment, he's meeting with the Scott.
Fiancé?
Yeah.
Soon after Broadbridge left, Cassie's mother and sister arrived, also with gifts. They spent an hour inside the jail with her and left without speaking to media. Cassie's fiancé and family have reportedly signed media deals with different Australian television companies. Cassie is said to be angry that her own family did not seek her approval and she is focusing on the upcoming court case.
What did she tell you?
I don't know. For me, my interest is only defense of Cassandra.
Her Colombian lawyer is reportedly advising her to plead guilty. If convicted, Cassie could face between 2 and 20 years in prison for drug trafficking. Other inmates reportedly say she will not be bullied and will receive special attention from the guards as a foreign prisoner. Marissa Coolawine, QUT News.
The Byron Bay mother who left a Bali policeman to die after a bashing is unlikely to appeal a new, longer jail term. Sarah Connor has been given another year by a high court after prosecutors argued the original 4 years was not enough. They said she had not tried to help the victim when her boyfriend David Taylor and the policeman had a fight. The officer lived for 2 hours after the bashing. Taylor is serving 6 years for his role in the death.
University students are about to face a crackdown on cheating. One Brisbane university has uncovered emails from people offering to do assignments for money. It warns cheating can lead to expulsion.
The marks are in, and students who contract others to do their assignments for them are getting an F.
Contract cheating, if you're found to have undertaken that activity, would be seen as very serious, and that, the largest penalty is that you're expelled.
This type of cheating is harder to spot than plagiarism because the work can't be detected by online originality trackers. Student representatives say the pressure of balancing a busy lifestyle can push students to the edge.
Students don't just study, they also work a lot. So when they get caught up in stress, they don't really understand the implications of their actions a lot of the time.
For many students, cheating is off the cards.
You don't get the same rewards and feeling of when you actually do well.
Not really learning anything if I cheat.
No. I feel bad afterwards.
Yeah, I feel so bad.
But for others, contract cheating provides a fast fix.
Websites like this one make it more than easy for students to cheat. With a click of a button, you can outsource your assignment. It'll get back to you, completed and ready to submit.
Unis say the first step in addressing the problem is making students feel supported and confident they can do the work themselves.
At the end of the day, if someone has earned a degree without actually doing the work, being evaluated on the work required for that degree, then how do they know that they can do what the degree warrants that they can do?
And that could make or break a career. Lily Nothling, QUT News.
Members of Queensland's legal fraternity have been hot-footing it around the city to raise money for those less fortunate. It's the 10th year of what's known as the Justice Walk.
Hundreds from as far as Cairns to the Gold Coast gathered at the Law Courts in George Street to begin the traditional walk through the CBD. Led by Queensland's Attorney General and the Chief Justice, the event focuses on helping those people who don't have easy access to legal support.
To me, we are walking to raise money for a cause that really needs it.
The money raised will go to Law Right, a community legal organisation.
It's about celebrating the legal profession and the great work they do, but Law Week is also about better educating the community about the importance of our justice system.
Most community legal centres rely on government funding.
Particularly important because there's been a significant change in Commonwealth funding and all CLCs have been defunded to some extent.
Over the last year, Law Right has assisted more than 3,000 disadvantaged Queenslanders, and the legal profession has provided over 22,000 hours of pro bono legal service. This morning's walk is part of Law Week, and it raised over $80,000 towards the cause. However, they were hoping to double that figure. Phoebe Powell, QUT News.
Some of the powerful players in the Fairfax empire reportedly want shareholders to reject a second multi-billion-dollar bid for the group. A US conglomerate has increased its offer for Fairfax to $2.7 billion for all its papers and the real estate service Domain. But some directors believe the bid undervalues the company, and in particular the growing area of Domain, said to be worth $2 billion on its own.
Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has announced an $89 billion project to increase Australia's naval fleet. But he couldn't escape questions about his controversial banking tax proposal.
A man on a mission, Malcolm Turnbull visited a naval base in South Australia to announce the multi-billion-dollar injection into the fleet. The project is the largest in the country's history.
Not just for today and tomorrow, but for generations to come.
Construction is set to create 5,000 jobs over the coming decades, primarily in South and Western Australia.
This is about national security and it's about economic security.
But the Prime Minister couldn't escape questions about his proposed banking tax.
I can assure you that the regulators were consulted.
Australia's banking sector has been extremely vocal about the $6 billion tax. NAB Chairman Ken Henry says the tax intrudes into the proper regulation of the financial system and will be borne by bank customers and shareholders.
We could have had that in the form of a Royal Commission. Labor was going to give the Australian public an almighty inquiry.
However, the Trade Minister isn't convinced.
Ken Henry is certainly well-intentioned, however, he's also not infallible.
The Prime Minister has been accused of rushing the policy, but insists it will be thoroughly examined by the Senate next week. Christopher Anderson, QUT News.
A Queensland organisation is helping us understand what a mental illness feels like. It's developed a virtual reality program for schools that simulates disorientation.
This 360-degree virtual reality experience is the closest you'll get to knowing what it feels like to have a psychotic episode. As soon as you put the headset on, you start to feel uncomfortable and struggle to concentrate. Using sight, sound, touch and smell, it simulates a young person having that experience.
We did a whole lot of research into common symptoms. So what is it that people see? How do they see it? How do they feel it? How do they smell it? How do they hear it?
Research by Mission Australia and the Black Dog Institute found 1 in 4 young Australians meet the criteria for a serious mental illness. For people who've never experienced that, it can be difficult to comprehend.
Lose your mind makes you feel like you're having a psychotic episode. You feel uncomfortable and you can't focus.
The program is offered as a workshop for professionals working with young people at risk.
Yeah, it was a bit disturbing, but it's interesting.
Developed for World Mental Health Day, Lose Your Mind is a small step towards increasing our understanding of mental illness. Tamika Sito, QUT News.
In what may be one of his biggest blunders so far, US President Donald Trump has been accused of giving highly classified information about a terrorist plan to Russia. A newspaper report says he passed on information about Islamic State to the Russian Foreign Minister and the nation's ambassador during a White House meeting. It was claimed the discussions jeopardised future intelligence from a US ally. The White House denies that any specific details were passed on.
Italy's mafia has pulled off a brazen scam using refugees to collect more than $50 million of public funding. It ran a migrant camp through a Catholic charity for more than a decade.
Italian police say the mafia used a Roman Catholic charity organisation which officially runs the Margaret Centre as their cover for more than a decade. They made the arrests, including a priest and the head of the local charity, in the early morning raids on the Sant'Anna Cara Immigration Centre in southern Italy. The camp housed up to 1,200 migrants.
200 immigrati che devono mangiare a mezzogiorno.
Prosecutors claim mobsters infiltrated the operation by taking charge of key services, such as catering and laundry.
It's claimed the Arena clan then used the money for real estate, fancy cars and luxury boats. Police also say the clan was suspected of muscling in on the running of a migrant centre on the southern island of Lampedusa, the front line of Italy's ongoing migrant crisis. More than 500,000 migrants have reached Italy since 2014, mostly by boat from neighbouring Libya. In an attempt to stem the flow, Italy handed over 4 patrol boats to help stop people smuggling. Smugglers in Libya have packed hundreds of thousands of migrants attempting to reach Europe onto unsafe boats over the past 4 years. Thousands have died trying to make the crossing. Zarisha Bradley, QUT News.
Looking again at our main story, accused drug smuggler Cassie Sainsbury finally sees her family.
And still to come, France's new president moves to shore up the European Union. New French President Emmanuel Macron is already trying to salvage European unity. He's met German Chancellor Angela Merkel in his first official foreign visit.
The French president was greeted with full military honours as he arrived in Berlin. On the agenda, strengthening the relationship between France and Germany and salvaging the European Union. Germany's Angela Merkel hopes the meeting will invigorate the Franco-German relationship. She says the interests of both countries are well aligned and she's committed to strengthening their common values. Ms. Merkel says Germany will only do well in the long term if Europe does well, and Europe will only do well if there is a strong France. The leaders have pledged to work closely to develop a roadmap for the medium-term outlook of the European Union. This will include dealing with Britain leaving the EU, but also how to strengthen the existing union and Eurozone. Meanwhile, Edouard Philippe has been named as the new Prime Minister of France. It's the first time in modern French political history a president has been appointed by a Prime Minister from outside his camp, without being forced by a parliamentary election. Kate Lorencic, QUT News.
British Prime Minister Theresa May has been confronted by a frustrated voter in Oxfordshire, demanding more funding for those with disabilities. The woman says she can't get help for her learning problems.
Theresa May was on a meet and greet in a market in central England when she was confronted by the woman. Kathy says she has learning difficulties so serious she can't write a letter without help.
I want you to do something for her.
We've got a lot of plans for people with mental health.
And learning disability. People say because I don't look the part, because I don't look like I've got mental health and learning disabilities, I don't get anything.
The PM continued to listen.
We're going to do a number of things. Let me just tell you one thing.
Kathy interrupts again, saying she can't live on £100 a month.
You know what I want? I want my disability living allowance to come back, not have PIPs and get nothing.
Theresa May has come under attack, accused of being unclear on the difference between a learning disability and mental illness. Laura English, QUT News.
Australian entertainer Rolf Harris is back in court over allegations he indecently assaulted 3 teenage girls more than 30 years ago. The 87-year-old, who appeared via video link, pleaded not guilty to 4 charges at the start of his trial. The girls were aged between 13 and 16 at the time of the alleged offences. The trial's expected to last 2 weeks.
Spanish police have put another dent in the international cocaine trade, seizing 2 tonnes of the drug from a Venezuelan ship. 7 crew members on board were arrested. Police also seized a number of guns. In another operation, a ship carrying 5.5 tonnes of cocaine heading to Spain was intercepted off the coast of Ecuador.
A small plane has crashed in New Jersey, killing 2 pilots and sparking fires at nearby buildings. Authorities say the Learjet was flying from Philadelphia and crashed as it neared the runway. The plane hit one building, skidded across a parking lot and broke apart. Flaming debris then set a second building on fire. No passengers were on board.
Thousands of protesters have taken to the streets of Venezuela for the 6th consecutive week of demonstrations. Once considered South America's richest nation, Venezuela is gripped by record high inflation and food shortages.
Chanting slogans and waving banners, anti-government protesters are calling for President Nicolas Maduro to go. Demonstrators blame the socialist leader for the economic crisis and are demanding fresh elections. Thousands stage sit-ins and roadblocks across the country. In Caracas, they blocked the main highway. This woman says they want to put pressure on the regime to listen to them. Inflation is expected to top 700% this year, putting further economic strain on the already desperate population. Another says they'll continue to protest until they're allowed to live in democracy. More than 38 people have been killed and hundreds more injured and detained during 6 weeks of protests. Marissa Kulawine, QUT News.
After last year's terror attack in nearby Nice, security has been ramped up for this year's Cannes Film Festival. But the event may not be as glamorous as usual.
Hundreds of extra police have descended on the world-famous strip in France's south, ahead of the International Film Festival. No expense has been spared, with 550 security cameras installed around the city. Police say they want to send a strong message that France is standing up to terrorism. This is the first festival France has held since the terror attacks in Nice last year. Festival staff and locals say they're reassured with the heightened security measures. This student working at the event says she feels safe with the extra police and security cameras, but says locals have to continue to live their lives. However, the event may not be as star-studded as usual.
There's not quite as many big Hollywood films, there's not quite as many big stars as we've seen in the years past, and of course a lot of people are worried about security after the various attacks in France.
France has been in a state of emergency since November 2015, when more than 100 people were killed and many more injured in terror attacks across Paris. Christopher Anderson, QUT News.
Time for sport now, and the AFL is dealing with one player's health crisis and another's off-field antics. And there's contract jostling in the NRL camp.
Even though Melbourne's AFL forward Jesse Hogan has been diagnosed with testicular cancer, he may be back on the field in 4 to 8 weeks. The club's doctor says the 22-year-old is expected to make a full recovery. And former North Melbourne player Wayne Kelly denies having an affair with Carlton skipper Mark Murphy's wife. Rumours emerged after last Saturday's clash between Carlton and St Kilda.
I just want to say I've actually never ever had a conversation with Mark Murphy's wife, so I don't even know her.
It's prompted claims and counterclaims on social media. In NRL, West Tigers have signed Russell Parker on a 4-year deal, but Paul Vaughan confirmed he's staying with the Dragons until 2021. And Laurie Daly says he's not interested in coaching the Kangaroos.
Mate, for me, it's all about having New South Wales as best prepared as I possibly can.
This is the final year of his Origin contract. Andy Long, QUT News.
The weather details are next with Lily Greer.
And top chefs cooking for a cancer cure.
Hello, time to take a look at the weather. It's been a sunny day in Brisbane with temperatures 3 degrees higher than the May average. But make the most of the sunshine while it lasts, because an upper low and trough is moving across the state with showers and storms for the end of the week. Looking at southeast Queensland, it was a cold start in Ipswich at 7 degrees. But once the sun came out, it warmed up nicely on the Gold and Sunshine coasts. Across the nation tomorrow, and some cloud cover for both Sydney and Hobart. A chilly start in Canberra at 1 degree. There's a high chance of showers in Adelaide with a top of 20. Cooler in Melbourne and sunshine for Darwin and Perth. Queensland will have a mixed bag of conditions tomorrow, with showers in the north and temperatures in the high 20s. It should be sunny in Rockhampton, Bundaberg and Longreach. On Moreton Bay, the winds will be easterly at 10 knots and seas below 1 metre. Sunrise at 6:22. An early fog for the sunny coast with a top of 25, and some cloud cover for the Gold Coast. Back to Brisbane, and expect some rain later in the week, building from showers on Thursday. Tomorrow will be cloudy and 25. That's the weather for now. Back to you, Ben.
Thanks, Lily. How do you make a scone more appetising? Forget jam and cream, try Vegemite. That's what some of Brisbane's top chefs are doing as they promote Australia's biggest morning tea.
When you are raising money for a very good cause, you have to be inventive. And chefs from the Stanford showed they are coming up with a variety of delights for next week's fundraiser, Australia's biggest morning tea. It is hoped the pop-up event will lead to greater awareness of the fight against cancer.
It's really just getting people to understand that the morning tea is a fun event. There's lots of wonderful things that they can partake in terms of food, and obviously donating to a good cause.
Locals were invited to sample some of the goods. Stanford Plaza's executive chef Udaisin Mohit says they are privileged to be part of such an event.
It's a pleasure to do it. It's a worthy cause. We do a small bit for what's required and take pride and enjoyment out of it.
1 in 2 Queenslanders will be diagnosed with cancer throughout their lifetime. Cancer Council Queensland provides funds that have led to massive breakthroughs in cancer research. The Cancer Council wants to raise $2.5 million during May and June for cancer research, education and patient support services.
So come on down to Australia's biggest morning tea. We really need your help, Queenslanders. Come along, enjoy the morning and help those with cancer.
The Plaza's event expects to attract 150 people. And what can you expect that's different?
There's a Lord Lamington, there's a pastry called the Golden Gay Time.
Charlotte Tully, QUT News.
That brings you up to date with QUT News. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.